Okay, so we are up to where do we leave off? Oh, safek v'yavam, right? We left off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines down. 7 lines down from the top. So again, we're discussing the safek of again, we had the case where somebody did marry the almana within 3 months. So now we have no idea if the baby is from the first father or from the second father. If the baby is from the first father, so then everything's fine, right? Everything's at least fine with the guy, but the parents, obviously, when they get married, when they did yibum, that yibum was shaloi kedin, right? And if the baby is from the second, then the yibum was fine. Now, what about the Yerusha? Right. So yesterday we had a bunch of cases. Where we discussed who's yarshining who, meaning if this baby is a safek, is the son of the father who died, so then he's going to get an equal portion of Yerusha to his supposed father, his safek father, right? Because let's say there's 2 boys, right? One died without kids. So then if that kid is his kid, meaning the kid was born after the father was nifta, so then that kid yashins him. But if that baby, that's the safek, is from the second husband, from the miyavim, then he doesn't get anything because his father yashins it. Oh, you gotta be by the car cars. Oh man. Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. So anyways. So Gemara says now 7 lines down. Safek v'yavam shabo lachlik b'nifsei saba. So now the father died, the grandfather died. All right, so meaning you have a father who died, he was the one that died without kids. Right, and he had a brother who was miyavim within 3 months. So it's a safek. So safek v'yavam shabo lachlik b'nifsei saba. And now the grandfather died, so they're coming to be machlokes. So safek amar hai gavra bar misnahu. The safek says, meaning the child, says this person, meaning he's talking in third person. Hi Gabra, this person, Bar Misnu. My father was the brother that died. So therefore he gets half the Yerusha and I get his Yerusha because he's no longer alive. And half is mine. And Yavam Amar, but the Yavam says, meaning his uncle says, At Brai Didiat, you're my son. The less midi, then you get nothing. Right? Again, because if he was from the first brother, so then the first brother dies, so then he gets that half of the first brother. But if you get the second, if he's from the second, so then there's no other brother. It's just from the second brother, and the second brother yashins everything. Right? So have a yavam vadai, safek. So the yavam is a vadai, because the yavam we know for sure is yashining at least half. And the safek, the child, the grandchild, is a safek. Okay, safek, as we know the rule. Safek doesn't take away from vadai. Right. So again, the son is a vadai, a son. That's no question. The grandson is a question of whether he is a grandson through the brother who died, in which case he gets half the Yerusha, or maybe he's only a grandson through his father who's still alive, in which case he gets nothing because his father gets everything. Right? That's shaila number 1. Let's say you have safek, right, and b'nei yavam. Sorry, safek b'nei yavam, meaning now the father died also. Both sons died. Right. So now you have the grandchildren. So he claims that he had no father, so therefore he gets half. The other grandchildren say, no, you're our brother. Since you're our brother, you get a portion of ours. Right? So safek b'nei adam shabo lachlik b'nichsei saba. Safek amar hu gavra bar misnu. The safek says that person is, meaning himself, he's the son of the one that died, the first one that died. Upaga didihu, and half is mine. Ubnei yavam amri achunat, and the bnei yavam say, no, you're our brother. Umanase islach ba'adana, you have the same mana, the same part in the Yerusha as we have. Palga, the Kamaidi Lahu Shakli, right? The half that you're Maida to, right? So they could take it. Tilsa, the Kamaidi Le Shakal, and the third that they're Maida to him, so he could take. Pashlu Dankas, and then where you're left is a sixth. And Havi Maman Amod B'Savik B'Chalkan, so you're going to split that. Meaning each one of them agrees. See, in this case, it's different because each one of them agrees that there's grandchildren, that they're all grandchildren, right? Nobody's denying that, right? He just says he gets half because his father wasn't alive and he should have gotten half from his father. The other ones, let's say there's two brothers from the other brother, so they should split it. But everybody's minded that everyone gets a little bit. So therefore, on that week, there's going to be agreements. But the middle is where they're having a fight about it. So that's Maman Amut B'Safik. Nobody knows, so it's Maman Amut B'Safik, and then you're gonna split it. Last case is Saba v'Yavam v'Nichsei Safik. If you have the grandfather and the Yavam are splitting up a Yerusha, meaning the what do you call it? The kid who was a safek died. Right now, before was the grandfather died, or the father. Now the grandson who's a safek died. Right, and now they're yashining up, meaning the Yerusha goes up generations now, not down generations. So, but as what else? What if there's a safek and the yavam are trying to, I'm sorry, I keep saying Saba v'Yavam v'Nichsei Safek. If the grandfather and the Yavam are mixing up and they're having a fight about the Nichsei Safek, Oy Saba v'Safek v'Nichsei Yavam, or maybe the grandfather and the Safek, meaning, or another case is where the Saba and the Safek is the Nechasim of the Yavam. Havi Maman Avot v'Safek v'Chalkan. So there, since everybody is denying the other one's portion, so then it's going to be Maman Avot v'Safek. So basically in the middle case, where everybody agrees that the other one gets a piece of the pie, then you have a much harder time. All right? Fine. Okay, so those are the cases of all the safek. Now we continue here with its complicated Gemaras about when a woman brings in money into the marriage. So there's two types of money that she brings in. There's something called Sain Barzel and Nichse Milug. Right? I don't know what happened to me in my childhood. When I hear these two terms, I must have got thrown out that day or got into major trouble, because when I hear these two terms, my mom start going crazy. Unless maybe everybody has this, but I have.
Oh, I start drinking.
Yeah. Well, Paris, if it rains on Tuesday, you start drinking. No, so.
You're assuming drinking. I stopped on Monday night.
I would consider drinking, but
your daughter's in Shidduchim. I'm trying to be nice.
Your parents, you better make sure who anybody's in Shidduchim doesn't go on the YouTube. But
they called me up about you.
There you go.
Who's today?
Anyway, so I don't know if it's just me that starts going a little crazy, but if I didn't have to sell chametz after this, I would be considered seriously drinking tonight. But okay, I don't want to scare everybody. But anyways, so there's two types of the finances that a woman could bring into a marriage. There's nichse tzayin barzel and nichse milug. Nichse tzayin barzel comes in the word barzel, from metal, meaning she can, let's say a woman comes in with properties. So she could either give that property to the husband, and she's guaranteed to get back that property. And then what happens in the interim is not her problem. That's tzayin barzel because it's metal, meaning it's guaranteed to be returned to her. Nichse milug is that the husband gets to eat the peiros of she keeps it. In both cases, she keeps the land, but the husband's able to eat the peiros. That's nichse milug. So the question is, at what point does her belongings transfer into the husband? So that's in your normal case. So that's a normal issue, exactly when that transfers. Eris in the suin, right? Because there's two levels. What about the yavam? At what point, if she loses her husband without kids, so now she's zakuk, right? She is automatically part of this. She's almost sort of this guy's wife already, right? So now, does he have any power over any of these things, or do you have to wait? So there's two scenarios, and in one Beis Shammai Beis Hillel agree, and in one Beis Shammai Beis Hillel disagree. So let's see. So shemeres yavam, right? So shemeres yavam means a woman who's waiting for yibum. Shenafel nechasim, and then she yarshin something. She yarshin money. So now, does that go to her meyavim or not? Do we say zika or not? So moedim Beis Shammai Beis Hillel shemecheres v'nesenes v'kayim. Beis Shammai Beis Hillel moeda that she's allowed to sell it and or give it to anybody, and v'kayim, and it'll be meaning according to them, she is not. It's not considered part of her husband's yet, and therefore she could do whatever she wants, right? Mesa, but let's say she dies before she had yibum. Ma yasa b'ksubasa. What do they do with the kesuba? And with the belongings that came into this. Normally it's a marriage, but here it's into yibum, and what goes out with her. Meaning, what does she bring in and what does she not bring in? Right. So Beis Shammai, here they disagree. So the inheritors of the husband, meaning of the original husband, yarshin and they split it with the yarshim of the father. Right? And the father, now there's no father here, right? Meaning what it means, it's her yarshim, right? The yarshim abal is the meyavim, with the yarshim av, meaning her yarshim. The nechasim stay in the chazaka, meaning whoever has them has them. Kesuba b'cheskas yarshei habal. The kesuba is in the cheskas of the yarshim the bal. Nechasim aknasim v'yotzinima b'cheskas yarshei av. And the nechasim that go in with her and out with her are cheskas yarshei av. Konsa, right? But let's say they actually got married. Harei hike ishtay l'chol davar. Then she's his wife for everything, and therefore whatever normally happens with Nechse Milug, Nechse Tzayim Barzel, that's the way it goes. Should take kesuba al Nechse Baila Harishim. As long as the husband does, he has to take care of the regular kesuba. Yeah? Okay, so the obvious question, which is going to take us like an Amud, the rest of the daf here, is what why is it that Beis Shammai still have a Machlokes in the Reisha, where she sold her things, meaning before she died. I'm sorry, not before she died. Before she died. In the case before she died, why are they having a machlokes? What it is, and why is it when she died? I'm sorry, they're not having a machlokes. They agree. And why is it that when she died, they disagree? So Gemara asks, Mishna Reisha Teloi Pligi or Mishna Seifa de Pligi. What's the difference? The Reisha doesn't argue, and the Seifa does argue. How come Beis Shammai still are not arguing the Reisha and they're arguing the Seifa? So Amar Ula Reisha the Nafla Kishihi Arusa. The Reisha is talking about where she lost her husband only once they were engaged, right? So therefore, okay, we'll see in a minute what the therefore is. The Seifa the Nafla Kishihi Nesua, and the Seifa is talking about where she was married, because Savar Ula, and Ula holds Zikas Arusa Isa safek Arusa. The Zika, whatever the Zika is, whatever that connection is between the woman waiting for yibum and her, the one that's going to be miyam, meaning with her brother-in-law, makes a safek arusa, meaning it's not the same level as a wife, it's a step under that. Zika's nesua, isa safek nesua, and the Zika of a nesua meaning that's a marriage, makes a safek nesua. Right, so arusa gets downgraded, and Nesua does not. So Zika's Arusa, Isa Safek Arusa. What we're saying is the Zika of Arusa makes a Safek of Arusa. The Isagadai Vaday Arusa is if you think that they're mamish as if they were engaged. Meaning, again, her relationship with the Miyavim can't be any more than the relationship that was with her husband. Meaning, if she was only engaged, let's call it engaged, to her husband, then her relationship to her brother-in-law is not going to be more than engaged. If she was married to the husband, then yeah. But if she was engaged, we're not going to say they're going to have the same din as married. So again, these are that the Vade Arusa Maidim Beis Hillel Shemecheres and the Senes V'Kayim, because if you're going to say that it's a vadai that a safek arusa makes a vadai, so then would Beis Hillel be maida that she can sell whatever she wants and she gets to keep it? But not naflu on the chas and Mishna sarsa. Let's say a woman gets a Yerusha after she's engaged. Beis Shamai says she's allowed to sell it. She's not allowed to sell it. But they both agree that if she did sell it or she gave it away, then it works. Right? So you see that it does work according to Beis Hillel. The zika of arusa just makes a safek arusa. Right? And that's why Beis Hillel's maida that because it's just a safek whether she's engaged to this guy. Well, again, she's not engaged. It's a safek whether she's engaged. So therefore, we allow her to sell her belongings. Zika's nesua is a safek nesua, right? But the zika of marriage makes it a safek nesua. These are vaday nesua because if you're going to say, then it makes a vaday nesua. Beishamay yom yachloiku yarshei abalim yarshei av. Beis Shamai say that we're going to say that we split up the Yerusha of the Baal with the Yerusha of the Av, but now naflu on the chas and Mishna Yinisius. Let's say she yarshins things from when she was married. Elu maidim. They both agree. Beis Hillel and Beis Shamai she'im machra benasna that if she sold it or gave it, shabal moitzim yada lakuchas that the Baal can come take it away from the people that buy it from her. Meaning, if she sold it, if she wasn't allowed to sell it because it's supposed to go to her husband, then the buyer loses out. You can go back to the buyer and say it was not a proper transaction. So what do we hear from this? That the zika of a nesua makes a safek of a nesua, right? And that's why Beis Shamai is going to say that's why Beis Shamai says that there's going to be the same chelik that he has the Yarshim have. So Amarle Rabbah, so why are you saying that the whole Machlokes is when we're talking about the actual property, right? The actual belongings. I don't know if it's property, but whatever it is that she yarshin ulachar misa, and we're talking about it's after she died. Liflego b'chaya. Why don't we say that it's talking about when she's alive? Ulaperis. And we're talking about the Paris, right? Because that's meaning there's two different types of ways that she gives over the belongings to the husband. Either that he gets to keep the Paris, or that he doesn't keep the Paris, but the field, I mean, he's in control of it, but the field belongs, I mean, the field will belong to him, but she basically has a controlling interest in it, if that's the way to call it. I'm not even sure. Anyway, so Elam Rabbah, no, they're both talking about, meaning the first case in the Mishnah and the second case. Again, we're trying to figure out why Beis Hillel and Beis Shamai have Machlokes when she's alive. But I'm sorry, they agree when she's alive and they disagree when she's dead about who yarshins. Right? Elam Rabbah, both the Reish and the Sefer talking about where she was really married to her original husband when he was nifter. The zika's nesua, isa safek nesua, and the zika of a married woman makes a safek. Reisha the ihi kaima, and the reisha where she's alive, havala ihi vadai, so she's a vadai, right? But the inu safek, she's a vadai because we know for sure that the property belongs to her. And he's a safek. We don't know whether it should go to him. So he's a safek. So ain't safek matzimei vadai. Seifa. The Mesa, the Sefer is talking about where she died. Halalu bain liyarish, halalu bain liyarish v'achloiku, and these are coming, meaning the father's yarshim are trying to get at her belongings that they say go to their father. And halalu bain liyarish, right? And the ones of the husband, meaning the original husband, are also coming to yarshim, and they're both fakus. So Mamela, what do we do? Mama Amud b'safek v'achloiku, and they split it. Okay, so Abaya said, Beis Shamai ain't safek matzim levadai. Does Beis Shamai not hold of the rule of safek matzim levadai? But nafal Abaya salav alaviv. Now it gets a little bit more understandable. If a house falls on a person and his son, right, or a person and his father, Allah v'al ma'rishav, or on him and people that are inheriting him, vayu alav ksubas isha ubal chayv. But the son had a warrant out on him for a kesuba. He had to pay his wife's kesuba, and he also had somebody who owed him money. Okay, so again, the son and the father died. The son had some liens against him. Right, we are at the first wide line on Lamed Chesam Beis. Yeah, so he had some liens against him, the son. So now Yarshei Avayim, so the Yarshim of the father say, right, Haben Meis Rishon. So the son died first, V'achakach Meisav, and then the father died. So now meaning depending on which one dies first, that's who's going to Yarshin here. Meaning, let's say the son died first. And now the son died, now the father gets all the Yerusha, and then it can all go down to his kids, right? But if it happened the opposite, then it's going to change, right? So it really depends on who died first. We had a similar case a couple of days ago. And the Baal Chayv says no, ha'av meis rishon, meaning if the son died first, right? Then the money then he never was yashin, then he has no money, so the money goes to the father. And the Baal Chayv is saying, well, the Baal Chayv wants the father to die first, like this. The son yashined all the money. Now he has money to pay back the people he has loans against. The father died first, and then the son died. So Beis Shamai says in this case they have to split it. The nechasim are in the chazaka, right? Which means that it goes with the father. So memela what? So what's the kasha? Here the Yarshei Av are vadais, right? Because they have their father's property, right? And the Baal Chayv is a safek. He has no idea who died first because he's safek or maitzim midei vadai. And Beis Shamai is saying that a safek is maitzim midei vadai. So Gemara answers, "Kasar Beis Shamai shtar ha'aimed ligbois kigavi dami." Not a new rule. A shtar that's meant to be collected is as if it was collected, right? So meaning if you have a lien out, right, against somebody, so then that's already considered like it's collected. So therefore, we're not going to say that the chazaka is in the other guy's hand. We're going to say no. When you have a piece of paper that somebody owes you money, you're considered a muhsik on that. When we not tamra, and how do we know? How do we know that you say that a shtar has such strength as if you're holding on to it? The property, the Tanan, Mesu Baleyan Ad Shalei Shasu. Say we're talking about Saita. Right? So you have a lady who's a Saita. Right? A Saita is where the husband suspects her of not behaving. So she goes to the Beis HaMikdash and she takes the drink. But what happens if the husband died before she drank? Yeah? So Mesu Baleyan Ad Shalei Shasu, if the husband died before they drank, so now should they drink or should they not drink? But again, if they were mazana, they lose their kesuba. Right? So we have no idea. Was she mazana? Was she not mazana? So what they do is they take their kesuba and they're allowed to, because they never drank. Right? And they're not allowed to drink because the husband's not there. So noitlin kesubasan ve'enan shaisas. They take the kesuba, but they don't have to drink. Hillel says, either they have to drink or they don't take the kesuba. Meaning, if they drink and it comes out that they were mazana, then obviously they don't get the kesuba. So they have to drink or they don't get the kesuba. What do you mean? Or they drink. Well, it says, it says that the man has to bring his wife to the Beis HaMikdash. You don't have that if the husband's dead. And what it means
why is Beis Hillel giving her a way out?
He's dead, so it's not negay anymore.
I understand, but if she's Mizana, she's Chayv Mitzvah, no?
If she was Mizana, yeah, but there's no Eidim. The Shaila is just whether she should drink.
So I'm saying, why is Beis Hillel letting him off the hook?
What? I don't think they're letting her off the hook. It's a shaila here of whether she's allowed to collect the kesuba. That's all we have here. It's not about letting her off the hook.
It's a safek mitzvah.
Good, but that's a different issue. That's not the issue that we're handling here, whether she's chayav misa. That's not our business. Right? We're just trying to figure out if she gets her kesuba. So the Gemara is asking, what do you mean? What do you mean she should drink? It says a man has to bring his wife to the Beis Hamikdash. You don't have that here. So Gemara says, so what it means is that since she's not going to drink and she can't drink because the pasuk says she's not allowed to drink, so then she doesn't take the kesuba. So Gemara said, the safek who? Right here we're talking about a safek zanai, safek loy zanai. Right, it's a safek whether she was mazan or not. We have no idea because the safek and the safek. Shivade was married, right? Shivade is supposed to be getting the kesuba. There's a safek whether she was mazana. No, so what are we saying? That she doesn't get the money. So that's a safek motzim devade. El shmamina. So, and we know that can't be. So why is it? El shmamina shtara im legavos gavidon. No, since she has a kesuba that says that she's entitled to get her money, that's as if it was collected, as if the money is by her, and therefore she has a chazaka that it's hers. Okay, so then Abaya should have asked from this Mishnah, right? Because you see that a safek could be mitzi from a vada. So my answer is no. Dilma kesuba isha shani. The kesuba of a woman is different. Mishum china, right? A rule because of chain. See. Yeah, be bachaint, right? The girl's bachaint, right? We always want a girl to be bachaint, right? So what does it mean here? Bechina means that she should have. We don't want people taking advantage of her, so therefore, what? Huh? Probably 10 minutes. Yeah, fine. No, anyway, so anyway, mishum china is because we want to make sure that we don't want anybody taking advantage of her. So when she has a kesuba, says she has the upper hand. The loisve kesuba de masnisen, right? He should ask from the kesuba from our Mishnah, right? So we say because we said that you have to yachlaiku. So loy pligi, and a chanami, they're not having a machlokes by the kesuba, right? When we said in the Mishnah that they're going to split it, that's talking about the belongings. That's not talking about the kesuba. So Gemara asks v'loy, and Beis Shamai is not disagreeing about the kesuba. But Katani Mesa, if she dies when she waits for yibum, what are we doing with the kesuba and all the belongings? Right, she's the one that died before the yibum. She lost her husband, and then she died. And I mean, she was waiting for the yibum, then she died. So what do we do with her belongings in the kesuba? So so all the yarshim involved split it. Beis Hillel says nechasim b'chaskosim. The nechasim are in their chazaka, right? So Gemara answers hachi kamar mesa ma yasa b'kesuba. So if she died, what do we do with the kesuba? The shavka nechasim, right? The shavka, I'm sorry, and then it leaves. It stops. It stops with that. It goes away. And then we start discussing what's with the belongings that she brings in. And the Beis Shamai Machlokes, Yarshei Baal and Yarshei Av. The Yarshei Baal disagree with the Yarshei Ha'av. Beis Hillel Leimrim Nechasim b'Chaskasan. Beis Hillel say it's Nechasim in the Chazaka. Fine. Some of Rashi Masnisa Nami take and our Mishnah is also Tani Yachloiku Yarshei Baal and Yarshei Av. The Yarshei Av split it with the Yarshei Abal. But like a ton of Yarshei Ab im Yarshei Abal. It doesn't say they split it together. Right? So Shmami no. So that it's only talking about not the kesuba. We're not talking about the kesuba, we're talking about the belongings. Abaya Amar Reisha, the Naflula Kishahi Shemeres Yom. So now Abaya has a different teretz. Right, again, we're trying to figure out why Beis Shamai and Beis Hillel agree in the first case when she's alive and disagree when she's not alive. So Abaya Amar Reisha, the Naflula Kishi Shemeres Yavam. The Reisha is talking about when she was a Shemeres Yavam, she was waiting for Yibum. Seifa, the Naflula Kishi Tachtav the Baal. Seifa is someone when she was already married. Right? Because Savar on Tamar Aleph. Because Savar, Abaya, Yadoi ki Yada. Right? This is, by the way, is in Yonah Diyoma because in the shtar with the Harsha from Mechiras Chametz, it's Yadoi ki Yada. It doesn't ki Yada, but your Yad is like the person who you're making the Shiach to sell the Chametz is Yadoi. That's the Lashon we use. Yadoi ki Yada. I mean your hand. That's basically called a Shliach. You're making a Shliach is whatever meaning whatever rights the wife has, the husband has. Right? Meaning there, and it's both of theirs. Samalei Rabbah, either naflula kashi tacht of the Baal, if it's somewhere where she yashin when she was married to the original husband, the kuli amalei pligi the other adifim yada. Everybody says that his hand is better than hers. He's the husband, right? So Ella Idividi, so that can't be. Ella Idividi naflula kashi shameres yom. They're both talking about where she got the Yerusha when she was waiting for yibum. Reisha the loyava maimer. Right, so we haven't had mimer in a little bit. You figure this is complicated. Anytime it's a complicated Gemara, you know they're putting mimer in there somewhere, right? Again, mimer is where he says he's marrying her, but he didn't yet marry her, right? So Reisha, the loy over mimer, Reisha says the Reisha talking about where he didn't do mimer, meaning he didn't have this intention, he didn't announce his intention to marry her, right? Seifa the over mimer, and Seifa is talking about where he did mimer. Because Rabbah, mimer lebeis Shamai oisavada yarusa v'safek nesua. When you do mimer, it makes you vadai engaged, but a safek married. Right? Meaning midairaisa, she's going to be what did Rashi say? Right. So midairaisa, she is his wife, but we don't know exactly to what extent. So vadai arusa litches b'tzara, and also it's a vadai that she's engaged to him in order to push off the tzara, that the tzara goes free. The safek nesua lachlik b'nechasim, and it's also a safek whether they're married in order to split up the nechasim. Fine. So itmar mishmeidu Rabba Lazar kavaseidu Rabbah. We learned a brisa like Rabbah, right? And which is interesting because it's Rabbah was an Amoyron, right? So what it means is that the brisa is saying the same thing as Rabbah. The Itmar Mishmei, meaning it's obviously the brisa was said before Rabbah. The Itmar Mishmei, the Reb Yaisi, Reb Chanina, Kavasei Dabaya. We learn like Kavasei Dabaya. So one says, Miyom Reb Lazar Hachi. Parrots, we haven't had this for you in a long time. Parrots, covered Yomtiv. Miyom Reb Lazar Hachi. V'Amar Reb Lazar Maimer leBeis Shamai Eina Kaina El Litches B'Tzara Bilvad. Maimer, according to Beis Shamai, is not Kaina only Litches B'Tzara Bilvad. Epuch. Okay, switch it. Switch the shitas, okay? At least that teretz I could understand. Right? So we have a stira. So we say switch the shitas. Iba is saying, don't switch it. Amalach Rabbi Lazar is going to say, Ki Amri Ana, the loy sagi la beget, ela de boy nami chalitza. When I said this, it's not enough, meaning when it's maimer, it's not enough that she's going to need a get. She's also going to need chalitza. Right? But I'm not talking about splitting up the nechasim. I'm just talking about whether she needs a get or not. Meaning, he's not getting involved in the conversation of the Yerusha. He's just talking about get. The diuk of the Mishnah is like Abaya. And even though you're going to have a kasha from mace, because you're going to have a harder time fitting it into mace. And then the nechasim, the belongings that come into the marriage and go out with her. My nichnasin or my yotzim. What does it mean that the belongings that come in and go out? Lav nichnasin l'reshus habal v'yotzim l'reshus habal l'reshus ha'av. Are we not talking about belongings that go into the reshus habal and come out from the reshus habal to the reshus ha'av? Right? V'afagav the kasha mesa, even though it's a kasha from mace. Yeah, which Gemara is going to explain in a minute. So Gemara says, "Adamaflik begufa ula'achar misa." But once you're arguing about the guf of the field or the belongings, and la'achar misa live the gufa chayeh ula'peiros. So then disagree with during when she's alive, and it's with peiros v'sulay midi, and then we can't discuss this anymore, right? Meaning the Mishnah is mashma like Abaya, and there's nothing really much more to discuss. Okay, it's hard. This is hard. Thank you for listening. I whatever. I'm reading it. I can't. Every time I look at it, I don't know what's coming or going. But okay, it's the bottom line.
We're going to the Mishnah.
Oh, we're going to the Mishnah. We're going to the Mishnah because we have to make up. We have to make up tomorrow. Hopefully, we could do a.
Chaka, what are we doing? What time are we doing tomorrow? We have to figure that out afterwards.
Yeah. I figure about 6:15. I mean, nobody's making early. You can't make early, so Shkia is 7:35.
You.
What time? It's earlier for you or later for you?
Later.
That's what I thought. So.
Hey, so Zoom, Tiago, COVID, you can leave yours on and give the share. Aaron can listen without the.
Right.
Well, Aaron, you going to a
The
program?
guys could
Where
come
you
in. They
going?
don't have to stand outside.
No, I'm in Orlando.
Oh, you're in Orlando.
Yeah.
Excuse
Where
me.
you
Anyway,
staying?
so you'll discuss it after. We got a whole crew waiting over here. So, okay, let's finish this up. I don't know what that time, 6:50, 6:20? I mean, I guess a little later than that. 6:30? 6:30?
It's up to you. It's Yaakov, whatever you decide.
Look bench in 7:15, right? No, later, 7:20.
Later, I think 7:20 tomorrow, no? Hold on, let's check. Hold on, let me check.
Okay, we'll do 6:20. I think
Tomorrow,
6:20.
7:16 for Rockaway. 7:16.
All right, so 6:20. 6:20 is okay. So Kansa Harehi. So what do we say? That if they get married, right, then she's like his regular wife. Lamai Hilchasa. Right? What's the halach? What's the halacha that she's like the regular wife? What it means is that the yavam, if he decides to divorce her, then he has to give her a get, and then he can take her back if he wants. Megarsha beget pshita. Of course, he has to divorce her with a get. She's a regular wife. Once a man does yibum, then she's a regular wife. The isha, the yibum. So it takes it for a wife, and there's yibum. Amar Achmana, that's what the Torah is. So then he still has some sort of yibum on her, but chalitza in the get loy, and the only way he can divorce her is with chalitza and what with get. Kamash Malan, that no, he can just divorce her with a get. So machzira pshita, and if he decides to remarry her, obviously it's talking about to remarry her if she didn't get married to somebody else in the interim. So machzira pshita. So what's the saga? I mean, a mitzvah the Rami Rahman alei. So since there's a mitzvah on him, so Avda he did it. Hashta take and now she has an issue, and he has an isser to marry her Eshazach. Kamash Malon, that's not meaning it's an interesting hava meaning, right? Meaning he's not allowed to marry her because she's an erva to him. She's a sister-in-law. She's not allowed to marry him. But the Torah says if the brother died without kids, he's allowed to marry her. Okay, so he married her. Once he divorced her, so he's out. He no longer has a mitzvah. Right? So we're saying no, once she becomes his wife and that's it. So what it says, maybe Taka, he's not allowed to remarry her. So once he takes her, it's like his wife for everything. Fine. But as long as he takes care of the kesuba, my timer, what's the reason? Right? Isha hiknu loy min Shamayim. They gave him a wife from Shamai, meaning he did not necessarily want to marry this lady. He has a mitzvah of yibum because her husband died without a kid. That husband happens to be his brother. So mina shamayim, he has to. It's a shidduch that he didn't do. I mean, every shidduch is mina shamayim, but this one is mamish mina shamayim. Right. So, and therefore, maybe we would say that we could be more lenient with him with the shibudim to the kesuba because this wasn't his thing. So the Gemara says, "Vi less lemin arishon." Yeah, but if she doesn't have the kesuba, meaning she never got the kesuba from the first husband, she's supposed to get the kesuba from the first husband because he died. Kinula misheni, then they were misakin that the second husband, meaning his brother, has to give it her. They should take kala be'enav loitzia. Like again, we said yesterday or 2 days ago that the reason why the chachamim were misakin a kesuba, which meaning kesuba is shot that if he divorces her, then he has to give her money. And the reason why the chachamim were misakin that is because if you're not going to make the husband give money, then everybody's just going to divorce their wives right and left. They wouldn't care. They'll just go off and divorce their wives. So that's why we were masakin a kesuba. So the same thing here. If the first husband that died didn't have enough money for the kesuba, so the second husband is going to have to fill in for his brother, because if he doesn't, then he might just, he gets a little upset and he just might end up divorcing her. Okay. This last part was at least a little understandable. Okay, so 6:20 tomorrow, Bez Hashem, yes?
Are you davening Ferris Tzvi, Peretz?
It ain't the Ferris Tzvi, buddy.
I keep on getting mixed up. I can't keep track of
Okay,
who owns the...
Yaakov, from Matzi Yomtiv, you'll post when it works for you, Matzi Yomtiv, I guess. Don't make up a time now.
Well, people spare 9:30. We'll okay. 9:30. Let's call it 9.
We have to make sure Chicago works.
Don't worry about me. They'll do it for you.
Make sure. Okay, so let's go 9:40. Call it for 9:40. Matzi Yomtiv. No, 9:40.
Okay.
Is that what you're davening, by the way?
Me?
Yeah.
I don't divulge where I daven.
You don't need a kohen?
Oh, you gotta speak to parrots about that.
Yeah, see how much he's gonna offer.
Call mine. It's regular time.
No, we don't want a kohen from.
Yeah.
Perfect. No Kaplan's not even worth it.
It depends what type of entertainment they have on our Pesach program. We'll have see.
All
Regular
right, fair.
time, right?
It should be regular time, give or take.
Could you say a hadron even on these dafim that we're doing nowadays?